It's amazing how dirty a white van gets just sitting outside beneath hickory nut, oak, and ash trees. So you scrub, wash, rinse, and you scrub and wash and rinse, and you scrub and wash and rinse. And then you build a makeshift paint shelter and you start painting. And many thanks to my brother-in-law Doug for supplying materials, labor, and tips for constructing this outdoor paint shelter. Now I know it's obvious I'm not very concerned about perfect paint, dust, or bugs, just adding layers to help stop or slow down rust. So we'll see if it works. Of course, next step then was to install my heavy-duty roof rack I was pleased to find after months of online shopping, guaranteed to fit my old GMC van. I bought it over a year earlier and it sat in storage because I was too busy to test fit it. My mistake, and it was a year past returning it. Turns out it did not fit correctly. The horizontal bars were too short, only inserting into the side tubes about 1.5 inches, so the rack just sagged in the middle and rested on the rooftop. That meant I had to find the right sized steel square tubing that I could cut, prime, and paint to modify this roof rack for a firm fit. I'd already begun measuring and designing my entire roof rack system, which of course allowed for full clearance for my MaxFan roof fan to open all the way and also protects the fan from cargo stored up top. But the entire solar panels and cargo rack frame system requires a strong and sturdy level roof rack to serve as its base foundation. So I shopped local metal and steel tubing suppliers and ended up going to the metal supermarkets in Charlotte. Told the guys what I needed, and in less than 20 minutes, I was on my way with my new square tubing ready to sand, prime, paint, and assemble before taking the van to my fabricating welder guy. And that guy is Richard Russell. Richard, double R Welding and Fabrication, north of Concord, North Carolina. Richard does high quality, excellent work. Just a couple days into it, Richard invited me over to inspect the beginnings of his progress on the base framework according to my design. My drawing is strictly concept.
No, and your drawing is great. Let me tell you, when I asked you to do a drawing, you way exceeded anybody else's. I mean, I've gotten great drawings over the years from architects, or from engineers rather, not architects. But from, just stuff like this, it's usually just like a hand drawn, like, I want this. So
Right.
Your drawings are great.
Cool.
Yeah. So here's one of your frames there.
One of 4. Then, just 4 days later, Richard asked me to come back by the shop to inspect his progress and approve a slight modification regarding the front airfoil panel. Obviously, when I got there, I was blown away by the fact that he was almost completely finished, except for that airfoil. And then, of course, the next day, he said the van was ready to go. So that was just basically, 6 days of labor, I think, pretty much just 6 days. And he got it all done. Okay, so we're here at Double R Welding. Pick up the van. Here's the final product of the rack. We'll be working with this. I still need to design some covers for the panels, but I designed this for large panels because I wanted large panels to be able to stay off grid as much as possible.
All of your measurements that I know you wanted to keep, as far as your height,
Right.
I'm right on the money.
Okay.
Anything, I might be about a 16th to an 1/8 greater. Like the 11 1/4 here,
Right.
I might be 11 3/8.
Okay.
Front, same thing. Overall measurements are the same. You did an exceptional job on your drawing. Just so you know.
Thank you. Well, all I can say is Richard Russell, Double R Welding, does really good work. He put this together according to my drawings and plans, and then of course he made adjustments where he needed to make adjustments, which I of course trusted him to do, so he knows what he's doing. This is one solid rack, and it'll definitely not only hold the 4 solar panels, but I've got room back here. I designed it so I can have some extra cargo back here. Back away a little bit. So that deck in the back is for some of my cargo all around you put cowling around the roof vent fan. And so now the real work, the rest of the work for me begins in terms of finishing the interior of the van, the electrical system, getting things prepped for mounting the solar panels, the wiring, all that kind of thing. And the one thing I forgot to do before which I think was still okay, because I've got to put the wiring portholes in the roof. I'm gonna have 2 of them, one for the solar panel wiring, one for lighting and that kind of thing. So before I even get to running all the wires, long before I get the panels on this frame, I still have to figure out again exactly what goes where as far as cargo. This is the main cargo area, obviously. I did request, well, I designed it so that on the front part, where the front 2 panels are, which are lower down, there's still some space where I could put soft cargo directly on top of the van roof, under the panels up there. But hard, heavy cargo comes back here on this rack. So again, there's the exhaust fan, the panel frames. I've got to figure out eye bolts for tie downs, ways to secure stuff, hopefully with the wire and plastic coated cables with locks, I guess. Excuse the finger there. We'll see. Anyway, everything is still in process. Okay, so I just marked where I want the main hole to be drilled. Let's see if I can document this with one hand here, and see if we can tap these holes. And of course, always prime your bare metal. Okay, so everyone was recommending Sikaflex 22 or 252 or something like that. It's a super thick, pure urethane type adhesive sealant. But I heard so many comments about different opinions about brittleness, durability, and its extreme thickness and application. I figured the Sikaflex polyurethane, which again is a compound of various urethanes, therefore poly, it's supposed to be more durable, easier to work with. So I've gone ahead and masked around the base of the outline for the port, the wire port, because I want to go outside the line, and because then that's going to come overlap the outer lip a little bit and cover up the screws. Okay, you get the idea. But I'm going to put some extra beading out here. This will be smeared when I press the port down. It's going to, of course, bulge up, and I'll smear it, smooth it, and overlap it onto the top of the port lip and screws. Let's take a quick leap into the future present, which would still be your past by the time anyone might ever see this video. But so in the preceding segment of the video regarding the electrical wiring roof ports, I ended up having to change that arrangement, having to remove one of those ports and replace it with a junction box on the other side to handle all the wires for my solar panels, plus the wiring for my front LED spotlights. Their wires go back to the junction box as well, and also the wires for my internet MIMO antenna, and the wiring for the LED spotlight on the driver's side of the van. So in other words, I had to do a lot of redesigning of where I ran wires and that kind of thing. But anyway, the wiring I did on that video for a port is for this one right here. So yeah, so that one's finished. That's the wiring for my LED spotlights that are on the passenger side of the van. Yeah, that one there, and then there's one back here. And then the other port that I had to move is now here in the rear, and it services this rear LED spotlight. So that port's there, that port's right there. And then this LED spotlight up here, the wiring for my internet antenna, plus all the wiring for my solar panels, all the solar panel wirings and cables, they all come back in here. So that's the junction box I had to put there to handle all that. So anyway, it eventually got done, and it all works. And again, I'll just say a quick thanks to Richard Russell, RR Welding and Fabrication. It's all still strong and sturdy. It's holding up. It's getting the job done. So thanks again.